Hey, this is Ashton and Kieran. We're talking to Milky.
So, it's almost 2 years since your debut album came out, which obviously did so well. It peaked at number 2 on the ARIA charts, 5 Triple J Hottest 100 entries. But something that I found like super interesting was that you guys did start working on the record before Sunlight even came out. Do you think kind of like following the success that any pressure kind of arose when it came to working on Here Comes Everybody, or like did it kind of influence the way you guys continued to work on the record once Sunlight was out?
I don't know, actually. I think given that we'd started working on it before the record had even come out, that immediately that pressure wasn't there for the first few sessions and for some of the things. I think we still didn't realize, like we wrote, we kind of refined the track list and figured out what might be recorded sort of before the Hottest 100, for example, when things, it feels like Sunlight took a good year to really peak, which, that's awesome for us. But I think we didn't really, have a way of like rationalizing what it meant for the next thing until like now, really, until sort of semi recently. I think during the process of recording it, I don't know, did you feel pressure at all but because I suppose you recorded later as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the first time that we've recorded something with very much like we're recording for this thing. Before that, we were very much in like the cycle of EPs and then the album, but it was always like making music the whole time. And then there's like a schedule of releases, which kind of doesn't, you just kind of take what you've been working on. Like when we kind of collected a bunch of songs and picked all the right ones for Sunlight, and before that, and we just like released songs in the EP. So it's like, they weren't necessarily like tethered together. There's two processes. So I think with this record, it's the first time it's been like, okay, we're making this for this thing, this album.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, any songs that we're working on at the moment, it's going to be like for the next album. You kind of know that now.
Yeah. Yeah. So sick. And so the album kind of like does essentially serve as this like documentation and kind of like navigating tool of the anxieties and changes and like perseverance as you kind of arrive at adulthood. How important was it for you guys to kind of like use your music to be able to tell these stories and provide a space of relatability for your listeners?
It's interesting. I think one thing that Ashton and I kind of run into with difficulties is kind of, we don't want to represent Caleb's sort of lyrics and represent Caleb's lyrics and songs. But for us, it's interesting because I think something that we've only realized, or I've only realized today, is how much that's been the case for me personally as well. And like navigating young adulthood and growing up a little bit are some of the themes that are happening in this record, absolutely. But they're also happening alongside us maturing, growing up, and like getting used to being who we are as artists or as people more broadly. And I think that's a really nice little serendipity thing. So yeah, I don't know if that really answers your question, but
yeah, I'd say that, I mean, lucky enough that, I mean, it's just been such a blessing for the first album to connect with so many people. And I think with this one coming out, we're just hoping that the second album can do a similar thing.
I'm sure it will. It's so good. It's such a great body of work.
You know how he was kids grew up watching Harry Potter, and it's like, you grow up alongside Harry Potter. And yeah, maybe that's what we can be.
Yeah, we're picking up all the Harry Potter, like, because Harry Potter's done now, right? So,
yeah, there's a lot of Harry Potter references in this album as well.
I was watching like all the Harry Potter movies on my flight over, so I love that little reference.
What else is there to do?
Yeah. It's like ultimate like comfort.
Exactly. Really is. Like I can never get through like a single movie on a flight or anything, but then I got through like 5 Harry Potter movies. Don't know how that happened, but
you notice how they get progressively darker, the lighting in each movie.
Yeah.
I always like, why don't they not turn the lights on in the last one? It's cool though, thematically.
For sure. And so, the new album kind of like pushes up against the kind of like established sonics of your previous record, a bit more pop. What kind of prompted like that new exploration of sound?
I think there's a few factors. One being, doing the same thing over and over is not really something that Caleb and the rest of the band showed much of an interest in doing. I think we wanted to stay true to what people listen to us for in the first place. We're not out here gonna reinvent the wheel and start producing, I don't know, jazz or something, but we knew that, you know, wanted to push forward and do something differently, and that's why we, you know, brought in a new producer in Khan, and kind of like, yeah, I think the listening influences for Caleb were slightly different, and there was a lot of like direct sort of deliberate intent in you know, some of the production choices and keeping things spacious and clean, and wanting to, you know, rather than overfill, keep things kind of like very intentional. And I don't know.
I think it was just an exciting opportunity for us to take everything that we've learned up to this point about making music, about releasing and writing music, and put out a bit more of a considered piece. I think we know how to what we want more like sonically now, I think, and so I think this record was an opportunity to deliver for ourselves in that regard.
So you guys have also shared some like super great visuals throughout the album's rollout. How important is it to you, like building that visual identity for your music and representing the themes present on the songs?
Yeah, I think it's massively important for us to just, for people to be able to get a sense of who we are. They probably need more than just the songs that we've made, I guess. Like, I think that's been so central to our place in Australian music, and we want to share that with the rest of the world too. I think, you know, I don't feel we kind of leave too much to the imagination, which maybe one day will change, but like it's nice to sort of like feel that the way people engage with us is not only through the art but also through who we are, and that's sort of like
it's so much easier as well. The brand is sort of like kind of us being ourselves, so it's like you don't have to work too hard to just be yourself. It's a lot easier than trying to like play a character or something. I think it's so cool with releasing music too, is because you suddenly have all these opportunities to make all this crazy like visual art and work with just some amazing visual artists, which we've been blessed to be able to do that with all the videos.
Sure.
It's like kind of cool for us to as well.
Yeah.
So if you had to pick like 3 songs off the record to play to someone who had never heard your music to make them an instant diehard fan, which 3 would you pick?
You pick one.
That's a good question. I'd pick It's Been a Long Day.
Yeah, that's one of my picks as well.
Yeah, I feel like it's different sound in a way for us, but it's also very quintessentially us. That song kind of covers a lot of bases of our sound.
What second one?
Like Lunchtime or something.
Yeah, I might do Sitting Up for mine.
Cool. Yeah.
And then you want to do third?
It's so hard to choose. It's like picking a favorite child.
That's not that hard. What about? Oh, I think Lots of Nothing. Actually, it was a pretty good first. It was a fucking great first statement especially looking back. I think we all semi-underrated that song, or I think we were all too nervous about like, oh god, I hope it does something the way that, you know, anything from the previous record did. And then now looking back in hindsight, I mean, it's been almost a year since that came out, and it's like it's easily one of the best.
Like that I think that what's made that song so great is the reception of it. And we released it and we were like, oh, I hope people like this, but we weren't super confident about it, and it's just turned into like one of the biggest songs lately. So
I think that lack of confidence really came from a place of like, how do we possibly do better than, you know, what we've been so lucky to I guess have reception wise on the record before. Like it's a lot to ask of people.
That was the first one.
Yeah,
first song after the first record, right? Yeah, it's like a different, slightly different sound and stuff. Yeah, you don't want to disappoint anyone. It's kind of scary releasing.
Yeah.
And so is there like a particular like line, lyric, musical motif from the album that you find will get stuck in your head more often than not, or maybe one that you're most proud of?
Music motif wise, I often find like guitar playing, I have like cool little moments that like I only appreciate. I'm like, I like that. It's like satisfying to do that. And there's a song in It's Been a Long Day, the chorus parts and the bridge parts are sort of like different versions of each other. I just found that really satisfying, but it's slightly different shapes. And like, but it's like a similar movement. So it was just very satisfying. I was like, I feel like a professional musician when I did that. I was like, now we'll go to this part and it's going to look like this and sound like this. And
You guys will be back touring in Australia soon. I feel like pretty much since post-COVID, you guys like haven't stopped touring, and you put on such like an engaging and energetic show. So what are you gonna like be bringing to this new show later this year? I mean, obviously besides new music.
Oh man, I'm pretty excited about just overhauling the production. There's a whole new lights rig and design being put into it. The set's just, it's too tough to cut a lot of songs from a set to make room for new ones. So I think what's happened is we haven't. So, good luck to us. It's going to be a longer show and like
play all of them.
Yeah, it's going to be fun because we need to learn how to do all of these songs in the next kind of like month and a half or so. And yeah, I mean, easier said than done, but I'm just looking forward to, bloody rehearsing it all. And yeah, we've got so much time booked for pre-production and stuff, and just getting it on rails and really delivering a show as, professionals, as opposed to, that gang of four from the West who come and play a pub and, a few hundred people are there. It's kind of like, no, I think everything about this album, from the production to the release to the tour, is going to be much more deliberate, just by virtue of the fact that it's the second time we've done it.
I'm excited. I think visually it's going to, a real exciting visual show coming. I don't want to give too much away because I think people really like it though.
Sounds exciting.
It's funny learning the songs, learning like your own songs, because you spend so much time playing them and like writing them and then recording them in the studio, and then because it's not out, so we're not touring it, a lot of these songs, and so just like kind of forgot about them for a while and just like being focused on the songs that we actually do play. So I'm like going back and trying to learn parts, and I'm like got to isolate the stems and just listen to each part and try and like figure out and like tab out what I was actually playing. It's weird. I always try and film different parts, the hard parts. It's funny with this question because like I always think back to like my teenage years of just being obsessed. So I was like really into grunge, like Soundgarden, Nirvana, and Pearl Jam and stuff, and they still influence me a lot. But these days I don't really look to them as it's just like a songwriting influence. As much. But they're the ones.
Yeah, sure. I guess you have to pick a couple, right? It's like what influences your life, what influences the way you write music or play music. For me, Radiohead are my favorite band of all time, so that's the easy pick. But then bands like Modern Baseball and I guess even Foo Fighters was the reason I started playing drums, I suppose. So there's a couple out there, but they're all disparate. I just don't know. It'd have to be weird, like Blondie or something. Like
I feel like we've never really considered like as a band collaborating with someone. I can see it being cool. Elton John or something. Yeah, he seems to be doing that a bit lately.
Yeah,
I feel like he'd be
pick up the phone, Elton.
Yeah.
Me personally, in Rainbows by Radiohead. Sure.
Yeah, I'd say Pearl Jam's 10. That's good.
Some like indie film.
Yeah.
Like some coming of age thing, like a boyhood.
I want something with like Michael Cera in it.
Yeah, Juno.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's look that one in.
Juno.
Oh god.
Yeah. Just pure panic.
Yeah. I think I try to stay out of my head a bit when I perform. I feel like that's kind of throws me off when I start thinking too much. So just trying to be just as expressive and performative as possible is the best thing that I can do personally. To not think too much.
Yeah.
Appreciation for sure. It's definitely a big thing I feel.
It's nice to not have to think too hard about exactly what we're playing these days. I think everything is pretty tied to muscle memory, or at least in songs that we've been playing for years.
Yeah.
But I guess a lot of the time, because sometimes in a set I'll talk for like the 3 songs before then, I'll just be panicking about what I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
Like, do I have to think of words? It's always or whatever. It's good fun. So I think I have to go with Miley.
Yeah, Miley Cyrus does some cool stuff, I feel. Yeah, probably Miley Cyrus. I used to play Cherub Rock by Smashing Pumpkins, the acoustic version. I used to play it all the time. It's like the only thing I'd play for like a year. People got so annoyed by it, I think. But, yeah, probably that.
Yeah. This is really like just like boring. I hope they don't see this. This is 2000s band called Shinedown. Do you remember that? And it was like modern hard rock. And for my like year 7 music class, I played one of their songs. I think I don't even remember what it's called, but I had the best time learning that. It was like the first song I learned on drums to perform. So I guess I'd have to say that. But this is like
Spice Girl, because you get a cool name. Cool name.
Goofy Spice.
Yeah, that's good. Goofy Spice. Spacey Spice.
Yeah, there you go. In recent memory, the London one that we played, purely because it's London. It's our first show, and it was like a huge show, and it was crazy to be there and hear people singing in a different accent, even if that's not really that noticeable. I'm making that up, but
it sounds like a football chant sometimes. Playing over there. It's cool.
So loud, so loud.
Yeah, we've played a lot of amazing shows. Hard to pick one for sure. I kind of think of like sometimes I listen to Creed, and it's like, this is so bad, but I love it in a way. It's that kind of thing. So yeah, and sometimes you meet people who are like, yeah, it's actually great.
Yeah,
and you have your little moment. But yeah, I don't like them, but I love them. It's like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I like some trash 2000s pop, but it's very also stuff. So I've been listening to like Blade lately, and I listen to it. I'm like, I hate this, but I can't stop listening. So I guess that kind of like weird. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, I guess it's like you can always go to the Beatles or even before that.
Yeah, in like a purely like a modern Australian industry way, I would think of Jaguar Jones and what Dina has done with her platform's been really impactful and special, and I think it's been really, she's really cool, and props to her for doing all the great things that she has. Current to future,
Just chill,
man. Yeah,
it's probably gonna be all right.
Yeah, I mean, just appreciate it. I've always loved music, and so pretty young, I would say. Yeah, I always wanted to have something to do with it and be able to play it.
Yeah, I don't know when I wanted to become a musician and be like, this is what I do.
Yeah,
but I always wanted to play music, so I guess that's
watching my dad play guitar around the house, big thing for me too.